Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on Enhancing Customer Service with CRM and Application Integrated Solutions in the Contact Center, bringing the pieces together without breaking the bank. My name is Nicole, and I'm part of the marketing team here at Computer Talk, and I'll be serving as your moderator today. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone that if at any time you have any questions throughout the webinar, you can just enter those questions in our chat window, and we'll answer as many questions as we can at the end of the webinar. And today, you'll be hearing from Brandon Viamonte. Brandon is the Director of U.S. Sales and Partnerships here at Computer Talk. He is a consultative solution specialist that has spent the last 12 years successfully working with unified communications, carrier services, and contact center technologies to improve how enterprises communicate internally and with their customers. Today, Brandon will be presenting a quick Computer Talk overview, an outlook on the industry, different application integration solutions, different scenarios for integrating with CRM and application solutions, hardware devices, mobile apps, and web portal integrations, and the top 5 benefits of integrating with CRM and other application solutions. Brandon, I'll now hand it over to you.
Thank you, Nicole. And I'd just like to say, everybody, thank you very much for joining. I know I'm on here in Seattle at the Microsoft home office. We're doing some projects here, but we're really happy to have everyone from the East Coast to the West Coast, and we look forward to really having a great discussion with you in regards to some of the biggest questions and challenges we're getting from organizations that are really trying to, A, cost justify the integration of their contact center, but more importantly, looking for ways and answering questions as to what can you integrate, how can you integrate it, and what features and functions can you as an organization benefit by tying these pieces together and really delivering top-notch customer service to not only your customers, but top-notch help desk and HR solutions for your internal workforce. So with that said, many of you have joined us on previous webinars, so I'm going to keep the introduction short. We are Computer Talk. We are based out of Richmond Hill, which is in the Toronto area in Canada. We've been doing this for about 29 years, and we really are experts in delivering cloud and premise-based enterprise contact center solutions. In Canada, we were the first contact center to get the hosted contact center attestation for contact center. But in 2005, we really looked at focusing our future of the software on Microsoft technologies. And there's a big reason that we did that. If any of you are familiar with Lync or Skype for Business, we've really been able to take a lot of different media channels, integrate them with very powerful legacy style ACD and IVR to come up with a very forward-thinking way of moving customer service forward. So we are a gold communications partner. We are a gold application development partner. We are a member of the Microsoft TAP program, so they come to us and ask us really challenging questions since we really pushed their technologies to the limits. And we're also last year earned the honor of becoming Microsoft Enterprise Cloud Alliance member. So as we are moving forward in this presentation, sorry there. All right, sorry, my slides just got a little ahead of me here. So today what we'd like to do is we would like to focus on kind of the bottom right quadrant of the squares, which we're going to talk about a little bit about speech analytics and the business intelligence, but also native CTI and CRM with screen pops, because those are areas that really kind of come together when you look at what the technologies are doing and what they are bringing together, and more importantly, how you can effectively utilize those technologies, consolidating your media channels into a very seamless experience to not only manage but to deliver to the customers. So when it comes to the industry outlook, what we'd like to do is kind of talk about what some of the industry experts are showing us out there. So according to consumers that have been just questioned, customer service agents failed to answer their questions 50% of the time. So we see a trend out there of more of this happening. One of the main reasons is because as people move to non-real-time communications, or moving away from your traditional call center of calling in, and when they're sending text messages or they're IMing or web chatting with an agent or even respond via email, we believe that there's some sort of disconnect there by not being able to communicate in real time, and we believe that that is one of the key reasons for this particular statistic. But at the same time, giving the agents the tools to not only understand more effectively who the consumers and who the customers are connecting with them can also take this statistic and hopefully reduce that percentage of not answering their questions 50% of the time and really increasing that to a higher level. The next piece that we'd like to look at is in a study in 14 countries with 14 multiple organizations, we were finding out that the customer experience through the contact center was a competitive differentiator of theirs. So they have really taken a look at what their communications with their customers have looked like, understanding what their market space looks like, and understanding, more importantly, how they can provide a superior experience to their customers as a market differentiator. So, but when we also take a look at these same people that responded to this survey, they believe contact centers are a primary role in their customer retention. So 50% believe that. Then the secondary believes it's 43. So 93% believe that a contact center or the communications directly with their customers and or the consumers of their products is a key differentiator on them doing business. And the 7% that has no role, I'm guessing they don't like talking to people or communicating. And here's probably what I believe to be one of the more interesting statistics that we read from this particular study from Deloitte. And when we look at the kind of the left side of the screen, we look at the amount of customers that are fully integrated, not integrated, or even partially integrated. And so when you look at customers that have all their media channels fully integrated into their solutions, it's very, very slim. The not integrated at all, which we see fairly regularly, is 31%, and then the partially integrated, 51%. When I think of partially integrated with the customers that we work with on a daily basis, they might have some sort of screen pop, maybe with their call, but they're not necessarily, their email is not necessarily integrated in their solution, and web chat might not be fully integrated to provide a full customer self-service solution. And the reason I find this left side very interesting is if you look at the right side, 88% of the respondents of this particular exercise have email. 75% have a live voice contact center, and 61% has a web self-service. So if you kind of look at that from a minimal standpoint, 61% of all the respondents have all three, but they're not integrated together. That means they have multiple media channels coming into their contact center, being managed by different groups that are not really communicating with each other, that are not necessarily giving them the data that they require to make business decisions moving forward. Or if they do understand the data that's coming in, they're spending a lot of time and resources creating custom reports to be able to bring all of that information together. And this is something that, especially with the largest organizations that we work with, that are now really evaluating contact center and full automation with integration. This component is what we see the most. It's really trying to take all of those different communications media channels, including the ones that you don't see here, for example, social media and video, and turning that into a fully integrated experience. So what we believe is one of the things that's kind of lagging behind is the perception of the cost. It's definitely not a free exercise, but at the same time, many of the experiences that these customers of ours have had in the past has really jaded them to the idea of having a unified communications platform from the contact center standpoint and simplifying that integration into their application so they can manage a single tool. So one thing that we really want to focus on as we're moving through, especially when it comes to the CRM, is that a contact center is not a CRM. We have a lot of organizations that look at us and they see the information that we're storing, the reports that we're generating, and they say, well, why can't you be our CRM? Why can't you just add a couple of custom fields, and why can't you simply add a couple of those components to what you're doing today and give us a CRM? Well, there are competitors of ours out there that have tried to do that, and we've seen that a lot of them have gone in there saying we want a seamless experience between our contact center and our CRM, and a single solution to move that forward. But the problem is when they had greater needs in the contact center side, they didn't have the ability to grow out of that. And most of them found that the CRMs were significantly lacking in the ability to create workflows and fields that really worked with their business. So when we talk about contact center, what we are really focusing on is the different media channels that customers and internal employees are really communicating on. That's the traditional voice, video, email, internal instant message, external web chat, your text messaging, and social media. And that takes me back, a moment ago when we were talking about live web chat, email, and voice. We didn't even get into SMS, which is by far the fastest growing requirement other than social media that we are seeing out there. We are having some fairly significant conversations on video, but very few of those conversations really are entailing what you can do from a traditional consumer standpoint. They tend to be more of a kiosk and banking application or some sort of kiosk where you want to talk to somebody. I think many of us have seen the Amazon Fire commercials where they have a button where you can get a live video chat. So that kind of media or consumer, in media, exporting of those ideas out to the masses via television ads and their marketing campaigns is then also starting to generate those conversations with us. But what we really want to focus on is when we talk about integrating our contact center solution into the different applications that you use to run your business, we want to make sure that there's a fine line of separation, understanding which software application is doing what pieces of information, but at the same time understanding how we can truly make the two work together to create the reports and give you the business intelligence that you need to run your business and more effectively serve your customers. So here's what we found to be extraordinarily interesting was by 2020, customer experience is going to take over price as a key brand differentiator. So that's telling us a couple of different things. One, the next generations of your biggest customers and the ones that are going to have the most money down the road, the way that they interact with contact centers is changing. What they really are going to want is to be known. They want to feel like that it is a partnership, that is not just a one-sided transaction, and that they're really being taken care of by the vendors that they work with. And you can see this, all over the place. I think 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't have seen places that are selling, single hamburgers for $12. You're also seeing, if you just look at the consumer market on craft drinks and craft beers, there is this level of customization and a little higher level of quality that this next generation is really, really focusing on. And look at the grocery stores. You're starting to see more Whole Foods style grocery stores where grocery shopping is not necessarily a function of necessity, but it's actually has social entertainment value. So those are all things that we can't forget about as we are talking about the customer experience, and then really incorporating what we're seeing on a daily basis in our lives and saying, these are the groups and this is what they're going to expect from us as a product and as a supplier to their needs down the road. So with that, Nicole is going to introduce you a quick poll question.
Thanks, Brandon. So now that Brandon shared a bit about what's going on in the industry with you guys, we'd like to get an idea of what's happening in your contact center. So I'm going to pull up a poll question here. All right, so does your contact center currently integrate with any application solutions? Yes, you're planning on integrating within the next 6 months, within the next 3 years, or you're not currently planning on integrating. All right, and we're going to go over the results of the poll questions at the end of our webinar when we go through the questions. All right, Brandon, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you, Nicole. So as we meet with our customers and we talk about their unique challenges of what they're trying to do internally and what they're trying to deliver to their customers and how they can not only create that technology roadmap of where they are from a communications and customer relationship management standpoint today, but where they can take that, but at the same time really looking at those different solutions and making sure that they're creating a roadmap that works together. As we were discussing previously, a lot of companies went in there and they've delivered the different solutions necessary for their customers to be able to communicate with them, but they did it on a very non-centralized in a non-centralized way. So they've put the applications out there, they've allowed their customers to communicate in that way, but they didn't necessarily bring them together. So you don't have centralized management, you don't have simplified methods of making changes to those applications. And that component is really what we want to sit down and understand when we're looking at a solution for our customers. And one of the really cool things about Computer Talk is the vast amount of applications and custom applications that we can deliver with our customers, and that also our customers bring to us. So I mean, you have the traditional, the big boys out there. You have your Microsoft Dynamics CRM, your Salesforce, your Oracle, your BMC software, SAP. But one of them that a lot of people don't realize that we can integrate with are .NET applications. So a lot of customers that we work with over the years have created these really powerful, CRM/ERP solutions that they deliver services on from an inventory standpoint to a customer service standpoint, that they have integrated into a whole host of other, providers on, say, a network that makes up the solutions for their customers. We have the ability to integrate with all of those different applications, regardless of whether they are your traditional out-of-the-box, very well-known solutions like what you see on the top line here, or whether they're a homegrown solution. So really what we are looking for when it comes to integrating an application is, how can you communicate with that solution? Does it have open web services? Can we do SQL queries into it? How can our application, ICE Contact Center, communicate into the solution that you have within your organization? But we're not just looking at necessarily looking at CRM and help desk solutions. We're also looking at a whole host of different PBX applications, different types of PBXs out there. We're also looking at voice recognition solutions and recording solutions and outbound dialer solutions. So being able to incorporate all of those into a single platform that's going to create reports that you can then either export into much more comprehensive BI reporting, and or be able to extract that data and create reports directly within the ICE reporting tools. So when we think applications, we really want to expand what you believe is an application and what we can connect into, and how we can not only create a seamless technology roadmap, potentially preserving the investments that you have already made today, but then being able to know that as you change out your investments and you depreciate existing assets, move forward with technologies that make more sense for your business, we're going to be able to integrate with those as well. So we kind of say, as long as they can connect into us, we're going to connect into them, and we can create some sort of application that we're going to be able to really enhance the customer service that you're trying to deliver to your customers. So one of the main challenges of talking about integration via a webinar is it's slightly impersonal, as you can all see. But what we're really going to try to do is set the tone, give you some of the ideas, and then after this presentation, if there are questions that you really want to take on one-on-one, you can either talk to your account manager, or we're going to give you the information at the end of the session where you can communicate with us, and we can set up the time with the correct resources to answer any questions that you have and really look at your existing scenario. So, really what we're seeing, the two solutions that we demo in-house are going to be our Dynamics CRM and our Salesforce. We use both of those, so we really like to stay on top of those, because those are the two companies that are really bringing out the cool new ideas and features and functions that our customers really want to use, that they're either emulating in their own internal applications that they've created on your own, or they're investing in a Microsoft and or Salesforce solution. So really what we are talking about from customer relationship management is, if you think of all the different media that you can communicate with from an external standpoint, and all of the different ways that your customers can communicate with you from anywhere they are, and especially from how that's changing, we're going to be able to take those communications and integrate very powerful routing schemes from our side of the house in our workflow designer, and really integrate that and be able to take and embed fields within your CRM. And this is very important, because as information is coming in, there used to be a separation of the repositories of information that was not really giving a seamless look into what you were doing as an organization, how you were communicating with your customers. One of the things that we see here is this kind of the center portion here. These are activity records. So one of the biggest challenges that we've seen from large contact centers, especially from a training standpoint with their agents, is continuity and consistency. So communication comes in, being able to log that communication. When we are integrating and automating different solutions, what we are really doing is we are taking the power out of the hands of the agents, simplifying the actions, and really creating those actions within the CRM. So we're taking information that's being presented to us from the contact center side. We're doing queries into the different databases that you're running. And then as we are presenting information to an agent, we are really able to go in there and present the information that is correct, make sure that we are embedding the information into the CRM, so as business managers and analysts go back to really take a look at that information, it's all in a single store of what happened, how you are communicating with your customers, and at the same time creating that unique profile for your customer of how are they communicating with us, what is their favorite methods of communicating with us, and going back and being able to look at our recording solutions that we can then embed hyperlinks into your different database applications that are going to allow you from a single page to see how individual customers are communicating with you, and go in and look at the actual communications, whether it's a recording and or a transcript. So these are very powerful tools. Here what you are seeing is actually the Microsoft Unified Service Desk. And we've had a lot of conversations with our customers that are very heavily invested in Microsoft that are not just using Dynamics, but they're really looking to use Dynamics as a strong differentiator of tying together different internal business applications and giving a single look and feel to their agents that they use in their contact center. And what this integration and strong investment into their internal CRM and to their contact center, it's actually creating a much better environment for agents, less for them to be trained on, fewer systems for them to need to know how to deploy. So organizations that have seasonal workforces, they don't necessarily have to go in there and spend a lot of time on continuous training every time they bring on a new agent, or they bring back a group of agents that were, say, students that come and work for the summer, or they're Christmas or spring break types of seasonal agents. So really being able to consolidate the information, really investing in your CRM and in the communications piece, and then bringing them together is going to give you a very much better experience that you can then leverage down the road from a cost standpoint. The next piece where we're seeing the second most amount of I would say people kind of jumping into the deep end is in ticketing systems and case management. A lot of the organizations that we're working with today, they already have some sort of ticket management or case management solution. So they've been using their standard PBX. They've created some sort of internal hunt group. So somebody calls in, a group of agents get a call, and then when they get that call, they then have to go into a separate application, launch that application, manually create some sort of ticket, and then follow up on that. So there's not necessarily a record of the communications that came in, and at the same time, it takes a lot longer for those agents to be able to service the people communicating internally to take care of their challenges. We're really seeing this from a human resources and from primarily an IT ticketing desk. So my laptop is down, my computer is down, I can't access my my email. Can you please reset the password? So we were really seeing that there was not a lot of integration. So we're talked about jumping in the deep end. What we're really seeing is companies not only for the first time investing in a contact center, they're investing in the contact center and then having us integrate that at the same time for them, completely changing the way that they do business. And at the same time, for a lot of mid-sized organizations that really do rely on internal and external customer service, they're not only looking to bring these components together, they are bringing on new resources to really focus on customer service and customer service management internally. So we're seeing a lot more of those roles being created. You're not just seeing a supervisor within a help desk. You're now really seeing an overall encompassing role that is really handling all of the different types of communications and customer service with the different database applications. And that makes a lot of sense, because if you're an organization, when you're trying to really maximize the investment, it makes a lot of sense to invest in tools that are going to have very strong ability to work across different needs within the organization, but still be effective. So with when we talk about the ticketing software and being able to create a ticket, the ways in which you can do that is also going to be very important, especially from if you're selling some sort of technology-based product and you have consumers that are communicating with you in different methods, be it a phone call, be it a web chat, really being able to tie all of those different media channels and integrate those into the different applications that run your business, we believe is a key differentiator for a lot of organizations. So if you see on here, we had mentioned an IT help desk. So if you look at this component right here, we've created a case number. We've created what that case number is. It's in regards to a laptop coming in. At the same time, we were able to understand who the recipient of this case was. And more importantly, here in the center, we've created an activity record of how they communicated with us and when this ticket was opened up. So what then that leads us to is, if you do not have the ability to close and resolve the ticket on the first try, you want to make sure that you can, if depending on what the needs of the customer are and how they're communicating with you, being able to make sure that you can always get a response and have a response for them, but at the same time, being able to reference that initial ticket that was opened up. So this is where integrating the different media channels is going to be very important. So in this case, we're taking that that same person is now, that called in last time, is going to communicate with us via a web chat. And as they are communicating with us and they're referencing that same ticket that they had open previously, we are now creating another activity record within that same case that shows this time they communicated with us via web chat. So as you are communicating, if there's any issues down the road, you as a supervisor are going to be able to go back and see what the different steps taken, what the communications were in regards to a specific ticket and a specific person, and have a really clear picture of what that looks like with your customers. So one of the things that we're going to discuss a little bit today, just to kind of put the idea in your head that it is available, but when we respond back to you and say thank you for joining this webinar and send you the link to the recording, we're also going to send you a link to what we call an active workflow demo. So when we talk about active workflows, we're not just looking at the different we're looking at the communication that you are having with your customers today, and whether you're having a conversation with them or whether you're having a web chat with them, the active workflows are basically workflows that layer on top of those communications and can trigger direct responses based on real-time communications. And to give you an idea of what this looks like, I don't know how much TV you guys watch, but the Amazon Echo is getting a lot of airtime from the media these days from a commercial standpoint of what you can do when you have something sitting in the background listening to you. But for all of you that aren't familiar with the Amazon Echo, on the left side of the screen we have the Microsoft Cortana. We have Microsoft Cortana, and then on the right side of the screen we have Siri. If you have an Android phone, you might be used to OK Google. So what what we are doing is we are running an application in the background that is listening for keywords and or different words that have different sentiments and creating triggers that can assist an agent in more effectively identifying challenges and working with the customer that is having some sort of challenge and or need. So what you see here is a traditional agent screen with a dynamic screen pop based on a communication that was started by the lovely Vivian Powell. So in the demo that we're going to send you a recording to, you're going to be able to hear the full communication and conversation that Vivian is having, and she's basically having a bad day because she subscribed to a towing service if her car broke down, and they took a really long time to get there. And being able to understand what those challenges were, the script, if you look at the top the top left of the screen here, what you see is an apology script and an upsell script. So the managers and the analysts of this business have seen and identified communications that have a pattern to them, and with that pattern they've created screen pops that in real time are presented to the agent so they can effectively understand how they should be communicating with the person that is on the other side of the phone that is unhappy at this time, to take that from a negative experience and turn it into a positive experience. And the cool part about these active workflows is they are literally, virtually can be stacked to an unlimited level. So as you are dealing with the customer throughout that conversation, you can have as many of these active workflows running in the background doing anything that you would like to assist in more effectively working with that customer. So we really hope that when we send that, that link out to you, take a look at it. It's a very, very powerful tool, and it's one of those tools that it's not a pie in the sky. It's something that we're delivering to our customers on a regular basis. It's something that is openly out there available to you. And the reason I really wanted to show you, Cortana, Siri, and that Amazon Echo is this technology is being used in very wide varieties today. So if you have different workflows built into your applications, your CRM, your ERPs, you can now extend communications and real-time triggers into those workflows with what we call the active workflow. So we've talked about some different applications that you can, the traditional CRM and ticketing applications and things that you can do with them, and more importantly, how you can create a better experience for your customers if you integrate your contact center with them. But another area where we get a lot of different questions, and we're also seeing a transition in the industry, is in the hardware devices that consumers are communicating with to a point, the Internet of Things, machine to machine or machine to person communications, mobile applications, and web portal integrations and applications. And the reason that we bring this up is if you look at the evolution of man, we're kind of going backwards. Now, as you're walking down the street, you're constantly seeing people with headphones in their face in their mobile app, not paying attention or communicating with what's going on out there. The mobile devices, whether it's a tablet, whether it's your phone, is really turning into a primary method of communications to people in their daily lives. So being able to make sure that any applications that you are delivering to your customers today can be integrated and incorporated back into the contact center is going to be very important. But at the same time, a lot of different technologies are coming out there where browser-based mobile apps that you can have some sort of sign-on to or some sort of credentials incorporated into is really starting to show its head out in the marketplace. And with those different applications out there, any application that you as an organization can deliver to a tablet or a smartphone or any browser-based solution out there, we're going to be able to incorporate that back into the contact center. So what does this mean? This means that if somebody is on their mobile device and they are logged in and say they look at their bank account and identity thief has gone in there and taken money, you can have communications buttons that through their browsers you're going to be able to communicate with them in a voice over IP call, a text message, and or you can call out to their device based on the credentials that they have already input once by logging into the application. So all of that is going to create a more effective and seamless customer experience. Obviously, with the portability of mobile devices and the ability of anyone to grab one and potentially log into a saved password, we still give you, with our solution, the ability to pop the information of that person that you're talking to, but at the same time adhere to the security standards that your organization requires to be able to service people on their mobile devices. Just this week, we got a note from Microsoft, which is the core software that runs our contact center, that they were improving the anonymous or the WebRTC solutions in browser-based communications that our engineers have already started embedding into our solution and will be testing very shortly. So not only are we going to be expanding upon the ways that we can communicate in the devices, we're basically going to be turning any device that can connect to the internet and have a browser into an unlimited group of devices that we're going to be able to connect into our contact center. So to us, that's very, very exciting. It's going to simplify and really reduce the cost of adding advanced applications and communications to your customers. So, so we're really talking, when we look at all of these, these different communications types, these are, the miniature device, portals with, mobile applications and web portal integrations. But then we also have your standard devices, maybe many devices that you might be looking at today on your desktop or a device that you might have seen out in public. So any type of solution that you can use on a device such as a Polycom phone. This is a Polycom VVX phone, which we have written some applications for self-service directly tied into our CRM to allow customers to be able to have hotlines where they are, being able to show customer service agents where a person is calling from simply from the phone that they're picking up, potentially in a retail store. So maybe they need to get somebody, they're calling into the retail store and they can say, oh, by the way, we see that you are in the hardware section. Would you like us to send someone over to talk to you? So what we're really trying to do is improve real-time communications and take these different browser-based solutions out there, whether they're software on a mobile device, whether they're physical hardware devices. As long as we have these capabilities, we can write really cool applications to where you can really effectively use all of the different devices out there, whether it's internal or whether it's external for customer service. So as we are coming kind of towards the back end of our conversation, we want to really discuss what is that path to application, and integrating different applications into your solutions. So depending on where you are, what level of technology advancement you have already placed within your organization, we've really identified 3 different points, which is the beginning and the end, or the more advanced area of the application integration. And the first part is really adding contact center software to your help desk and your customer service. Traditionally, when it comes to the external customer service, most companies already have some sort of contact center solution. What we are now seeing is taking them from what we call a legacy call center, strictly phone calls in and out, to now a contact center, which is what Computer Talk ICE is. So moving that and really being able to manage multimedia communication seamlessly together for a single experience from a management and administration and an agent standpoint, and really delivering that experience to customers, getting a much better idea of how they're communicating with you and what they are doing, but in an organized fashion. The next level is on the integration side. So we're taking that contact center, we're taking the applications that you have, and we're creating a simple integration between the two with some basic database dipping, with some basic advanced routing feature functionality, or some advanced self-service IVR capabilities, and then incorporating, really taking the two applications and bringing them together, contact center and CRM or ticketing or whatever solutions you're using. And then the last piece is automation. This is really where where we start to really see cool solutions that are really effective, that are being utilized out there. So as you're adding access, as you're adding information into your CRM, you're also going to be able to create workflows that you can create to more effectively communicate with your internal customers, such as those active workflows based on speech response that we discussed. But at the same time, you can be proactive in reaching out to your different customer base and the methods that they have communicated with you, whether it's an old-fashioned phone call, whether it's a web chat, an SMS text, or an email. So all of those different communications types really are going to be added to your solutions. When we talk about outbound, outbound surveys, so if you look at Dynamics, for example, they've added SMS components, they've added survey components. But if you're communicating with an organization or a person, and they get a communication, and at the end of that survey you say, would you like to speak to somebody about your experience with our organization? Just simply being able to send out surveys or communications does not then allow for a response back that can be managed and communicated. So what we're doing is we're adding a communication element to the different surveys and to the different methods in which you're reaching out to people. One area that we also talk about is campaigns. Being able to create some sort of workflow within your solution to create outbound communications to your customers and end users to proactively reach out to them. So if you're an organization that sells maintenance plans or you sell subscriptions and you see that people's time on those subscriptions is coming to an end, you're going to be able to create workflows within the applications you run in your business that then trigger outbound communications that can have an agent associated to them, or dynamically can associate an agent to them if the customer or consumer is interested in speaking to someone about it. So that's what we really talk about. So the first step is really integrating a contact center solution to your different communications, bringing those communication types together under a single managed platform. The next component is taking the contact center, integrating it with the database applications, mobile apps, and hardware that you communicate with your customers. And then the third step into that is really automating those workflows and adding workflows based on the business intelligence that you've created from the different integrations, creating a much more directed experience to the people that are working with your company. So how we integrate is also a very interesting question. Simply integrating sounds great, but before I discuss that, a lot of organizations that have done integrations in the past or have dabbled in it, it's been extraordinarily expensive, it's been extraordinarily burdensome financially on additional maintenance costs, and it's required a lot of different management and skill sets that a lot of organizations do not have internally due to the complexity of how those integrations work with some of the legacy contact center hardware and software providers. So as we're looking at that, the complexity, really looking at complexity of managing new applications, limitations on the applications that they can integrate. No two businesses are alike from the solutions that they are deploying, and they all have different needs. So not all contact center softwares allow you to integrate multiple components in different areas and really take advantage of that from a way that makes sense to you as an organization. As we discussed, cost of the application integration. So there's two components of it. There's the actual creation of the connectors and the application integrations, and then there's the maintenance and support of them. And when you put all of those together, the legacy mindset of how this was done has really kept a lot of organizations, I believe, from moving forward and really creating very powerful integrations and automations between their database applications and their contact center. So here at Computer Talk, we have two key components that are the experience of application integration. And the first one is the ICE bar. The ICE bar is the communication tool that is going to allow an agent to see the different types of communications coming in. It's going to allow them to have the different types of call controls to be able to respond to the types of communications coming in, whether it's a traditional voice call. If you look at the tab on top of the screen here, you can see this particular agent is taking phone calls, they are taking emails, and they're also taking chats at the same time. The different communications and fields within the toolbar are what are completely customizable and are going to be able to allow you to most effectively deliver the tools that your agents need to be able to communicate with your customer base. At the same time, this is a single application tool that is required for the agents, no matter where they are internally or working remote, to be able to generate web-based screen pops or do database queries from the contact center. So it's a very simple agent experience to be able to have very powerful tools and methods of communication. But the biggest key differentiator that we have developed here at Computer Talk is our workflow designer. So through the 29 years that we've been in business, we've really had to come up with really complex integrations and multiple points of integrations for single customers. And as we were building out our tool and as we were building out those custom applications, it was also very important for us as a hosted provider to be able to simply manage those communications. So any of the different media channels that you are incorporating and or delivering to your customers are going to be managed on this single workflow designer. So it's a powerful drag and drop graphical editor that allows you to create as many custom fields, inquiries, and communications types as necessary. But at the same time, this is the tool where we are calling on via universal connectors into the different methods of the database that you are delivering today to be able to create those custom routing fields and screen pops to your agent. So from a management standpoint, there's less to manage here. It's a single tool that is managing your different integrations for all of the different queues and groups that you are running within your contact center. So we've really simplified the experience of application integration into the agent experience, a single toolbar that they use on a regular basis. And from a management and administrator standpoint, a single tool for all media and all integrations in a single workflow designer. By pairing those two together and by simplifying it, we've also then reduced the time it takes to manage, the time it takes to create more complex integrations, and the time and the money that it costs to manage them. So the benefits. So we've kind of hinted and talked about a lot of the different benefits as we have gone, through this conversation today. But one of the key benefits, if you haven't noticed in today's time, the 24-hour news cycle, if you've seen the AT&T commercials where they talk about that was so 6 seconds ago, time is of the essence today. And in the bottom left there, I heard this on the news the other day, and I went back and looked at it. The New York Times did a study that said the millennials believe that pouring milk into a bowl of cereal and cleaning it up after themselves, 40% of millennials believe that to be too time consuming. So if they can't, if pouring a bowl of cereal is considered time consuming, imagine what they feel sitting with a customer service agent must be like. So when we talk about reduced time to resolution, the faster we can get a solution out there to a customer, the more quickly we can identify who they are, is going to really impact the customer service. But more importantly, we want to really reduce that statistic we just discussed before, that 50% of the questions that were not being answered. Millennials do not like to talk over the phone. Millennials like to text, they like to web chat, they like to email. They don't like to have telephone communication. So knowing who that next generation of core consumer is going to be, and if I believe I heard this right, there are more millennials than they are baby boomers anymore. That being said, we need to really make sure that we are focusing on how they're going to communicate with our organization and what it's going to mean to them. At the same time, do it very quickly. The centralized data repository that we discussed. So taking all the information, the different types of communications that are coming in from the contact center, and making sure that we are creating and embedding the records into the databases that we use to create reports and make business decisions with. This is where we really talked about creating activity records, taking the control out of the agent's hands and making sure that we're automating that process to where all communications that are going in and out of our contact center is really being embedded in this single database solution to where we can more effectively act upon it. This is going to also reduce the amount of time IT has to manage it, because we work with a lot of organizations that have multiple applications that are managing their contact center and their databases. They have whole teams. They're set up to create reports, give those reports to the business managers that need them, and then have to then go back and change those reports as the business managers change their requirements. We have it to where the reporting teams can create reports, embed them either into the CRM and or into the contact center, and give access to the different supervisors and business managers as necessary. Increase sales and revenues. So companies calling in, this is what we talked about with the active workflow. Being able to truly identify what customers are looking for, understand their needs, and more importantly, create real-time triggers into what those consumers are looking for, and finding better opportunities to garner increased revenues and sales. Increased customer service by creating brand loyalty is going to have a huge impact, because what is it in a fickle world, what is it going to cost to bring on a customer versus what is it going to cost to lose a customer? So when we talk about increased sales, we really want to focus on the capabilities that we give you and what the true return on investment. Because when you talk about contacts and you talk about integration, it's very difficult to grasp your hands on. So what we like to focus with our customers is the hard dollar cost of having the integrations and not having the integrations. And reduced costs. There are a lot of costs that come into the contact center. And if you just look at it from the standpoint of how many agents are necessary to deliver a solution, the more quickly and effectively that you can answer questions and resolve challenges from your customer base, the fewer agents that you're going to need. And more importantly, the fewer agents that you need, the fewer people that you tend to have.
Hi everyone, it looks like we're having some technical difficulties, so we're just going to jump into our next poll question now. Alright, so we have this poll question here. So when you contact a customer service group, how often do you feel they have satisfactorily answered your question? Always, most of the time, some of the time, rarely, or never? So we're just going to give you a couple seconds to answer this question here.
So, can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
I guess that's odd. I guess I was lost there for a moment. So I will jump back in so we can at least help answer any questions.
All right, so we just have a poll question up right now, so I'm just going to close this, and then we can continue on with the webinar. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to answer this poll question. All right, and I'll hand it back over to you, Brandon.
All right. Hey, thank you about that. You know, with all these different types of technologies, occasionally we have challenges in the hotel rooms that we're presenting from. So really, as we're coming to the conclusion of our webinar here, you know, as we're reducing costs, one of the things that we've noticed is a 1% improvement on a call resolution represents almost over a $250,000 in operational savings for the average call center. So when you're looking at what these integrations mean, what you're looking at what they really represent to your organization, they're really going to increase the customer experience. And that's really what we're trying to do. The overall customer experience is going to have a ripple effect to the agents, to the business analysts, and to all the members of your organization and those that communicate with your business to create a better environment overall that increases revenue, decreases costs, and makes it much easier to manage your contact center. So simply making, improving that journey, looking at all the different media that are there, and making sure that you can bring those to your customers are going to create a much better experience overall. So I'd like to say, thank you very much for, taking the time to do this webinar with us and take the time out of your busy day. And we'd like to get to your questions now in the last few minutes to respect your time.
All right, and just as a reminder, if you have any questions, please enter them in our question chat window, and we'll get to as many as we can. So our first question, Brandon, is what CRM software integrates with ICE?
That's a good question, and at the moment, the answer is all CRM software. The most standard integrations that we are doing on a regular basis are going to be with Salesforce and Dynamics. But as long as the CRM that you have out there, we can call on web services or do some sort of SQL query or database queries into that solution, we're going to be able to integrate with it.
All right, thanks. And our next question, can you talk to some of the success you've had in the government space?
Well, that's actually a very interesting question because a lot of our success at Computer Talk has been with the Canadian federal government, and more so here in the United States as we're expanding our markets. We're having a lot of traction with the different government groups that are out there, including that we've put in some responses with the IRS, the Department of Labor, and now the different agencies and organizations within that are really adopting our tools. So we have been working with government entities for over a dozen years today, and we've really had a lot of good success showing them how they can more effectively manage internal communications, but more effectively deliver solutions and communications to their constituents. Because as we know, as government is providing more and more services, being able to cost effectively deploy those services is very important, and we're starting to see a significant amount of government increased spending in the contact center space to improve that quality and customer service and solutions.
All right, thanks, Brandon. And looks like we have 1 minute left, so in that minute I just want to go through the poll results. So as you can see, for our first poll, which is regarding if you're planning or have integrated solutions within your contact center, it looks like the majority either have integrated solutions or planning on it, and there's very few people who are not planning on integrating at all. And then for our next poll question is, when you contact a customer service group, how often do you feel they have satisfactorily answered your questions? So the majority of you have said some of the time, so that shows that not all the time contact centers are meeting your requirements, which is where the need for integration into other applications comes in, so that those agents have access to all the right information about the product and your personal product selection, so that they're able to answer your question satisfactorily 100% of the time.
Yeah, and what this really shows is on the sum of the time. If you look at that, when we send the slide deck out to you all, you're going to see that 50% of time is almost identical to what is represented here at 56% when you say sum of the time. So what you are seeing and what we're getting from this poll and what the market is showing is congruent, and it's actually fairly telling of where the market is going and what the needs are.
All right, thanks, Brandon. So unfortunately now we've run out of time. So if anyone's asked any questions that we haven't been able to get to, we have your contact information and we'll be able to reach out to you. Or if you have any questions that you weren't able to ask, please feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is on the screen there, and we'd love to reach out and talk to you. So I want to thank you again, Brandon, for presenting, and everyone who joined us today. And I hope you have a great afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you at our next webinar.